Hello, I'm Officer Angela Haseman.
And I'm Community Relations Officer Jim Long. Welcome to the Plymouth Police Department show, Along for the Ride. In this month's show, we'll be talking about what the Plymouth Police Department is doing to ensure that businesses aren't selling alcohol and tobacco to minors.
In addition, we will be talking about water safety and what to do if you are involved in a traffic crash. So join us for the next half hour as we take you along for the ride. Summer is finally here, and when the weather is warm, kids and adults alike love to spend time in the water. Unfortunately, each year this fun activity also brings tragedy. Swimming pools are a frequent location of drowning in Hennepin County, and both children and adults alike may become victims of drowning. In an effort to prevent drownings, Hennepin County created a task force in 2012 to address this effort. Today we have Leanne Mortensen, Injury Prevention Program Coordinator from North Memorial Medical Center, Lieutenant Art Sanders from the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office Water Patrol Unit, and Sarah Lynn Quina, Public Safety Education Specialist from the Plymouth Police and Fire Departments. Welcome everybody, and thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
We're going to start out by, Art, can you tell us a little bit about the reality of drowning here in Minnesota?
Our license plates remind us every single day that this is the land of 10,000 lakes. In Hennepin County alone, the Sheriff's Water Patrol is responsible for 104 named lakes and 3 rivers. Add to this the private swimming pools, the community swimming pools, the smaller mud lakes, spas, and bathtubs. We've responded to all of these as drownings.
Wow. And so getting to drowning, most people see on TV, they're splashing and everything like that. What does drowning really look like?
It is the total opposite. And this is an area where the Minnesota Water Safety Coalition is trying to educate the public. People are drowning because they're going under the water. They're not being seen waving their hands. They're not heard yelling and screaming. They're going under the water because they've had distress. This is a silent killer. Drowning is definitely a silent killer.
So people aren't, I mean, it happens fast.
Yes, very
and
quickly.
It's very, very quiet. So how and when did the Minnesota Water Safety Coalition start? Can you address that, Leanne?
Sure, absolutely. It started in the fall of 2011 when North Memorial called together a number of safety professionals to address the unprecedented number of drownings that we had in Hennepin County and across the state. We knew that we had to do something. We knew that nobody could do it alone. So we pulled people together, and what we did was pull together a demonstration project at apartment complexes in Brooklyn Park, Brooklyn Center, and in Plymouth. Going in and meeting with people to show them what drowning looks like and how to use the safety tools.
So when we're going into apartment communities, obviously we have people that are here not just from the United States, but have come here from other countries.
Absolutely.
What was your plan to kind of get the whole community involved in this presentation? Sarah, can you take that?
Absolutely. We had the teaching team going to apartment communities and actually showing the demonstration. We developed a poster, very large poster that depicts each stage of drowning and how to use the pool rescue tools. And then we had that poster translated into 4 different languages. It's simple statements that are easy to read, but the graphic piece let people know how this death happens. The other thing we did is develop DVDs that apartment managers can show to new residents when they come in. They can show at lease renewal. So with 2 minutes of their time, they're going to know about pool safety as well as what to do if there's problems in the pool.
So that's great. So even if you can't read, with all those picture images and watching the video, you can still see that image of how to use the tools, what drowning looks like, and what people should do.
Exactly.
Right.
That's a really great idea. What lessons have you learned? This has been going on now about a year.
We have grown a lot in a year. The demonstration that we started with, we've been improving each time we provide it. And in Plymouth, we have taken pre- and post-test surveys. I think other cities have done that, of people attending. And we find that after the presentation, they double their knowledge about drowning. We found that 98% of the people know exactly what to do if someone's drowning, and 90% of the people say that they personally could get the job done if they were in danger. So we feel like we've hit our mark. One of the other things that's happened to the coalition is groups joining us, wanting to be a part of that. What started in Hennepin County now definitely is a statewide initiative.
And so now if somebody wants this presentation, is there a charge for it?
There's no charge. In fact, really, our whole plan in putting this together was so that somebody else doesn't have to reinvent the work that we've already done. And if they go to the thinkdon'tsink.org website, they can find all the tools right on the website. There's DVDs, there's some lesson plans, there's information that they can pick and choose from depending on where they're doing the water safety demonstration, so that they can use that information the same as we've used it with our demonstrations.
Can each of you give one important thing, like what do you wish parents and families and kids out there should know? Art, can we start with you?
Have your child wear a PFD, even in a swimming pool. If the child is not a good swimmer, and not even children, adults need this as well. If they're not a good swimmer, they need to be wearing their PFD.
And that's a personal flotation device,
Yes, it
right?
is.
Okay, so a life jacket or something like that.
Yes.
Excellent advice. How about you, Leanne?
Sure. I think that I would really say to parents that it's really active supervision. You cannot leave kids alone at all. You really need to be right there, ready to grab them with their life jackets on, know their swimming skills, and you really can't be reading a book or texting on your phone or doing anything else. You have to be very active with your children.
Excellent. And Sarah?
What we learned is that people were there and saw drowning. They just didn't know what it looks like. We want to teach parents that it is instant and it is fast and it is quiet.
What is Plymouth doing to go forward?
I am excited. The county has come out and trained 6 of our firefighters to provide this demonstration at apartment community pools, at housing association pools, community pools, school pools, and during the summer they'll be making drop stops to these outdoor areas, getting in the pool, demonstrating it, and then moving forward.
And I think one of the things I'd like to say too with the Minnesota Water Safety Coalition is we are trying to figure out how we move forward with lakes, with rivers, how we continue this important work, because we know that pools are very, very important in addition to our lakes and our rivers, so that we have open water and we can teach parents again that it's different supervision than in a pool, it's different tools than in a pool, but that it's all important, especially the active supervision.
So looking forward, hopefully we'll expand this out to rivers, lakes, and other man-made water as well.
Yes.
Yep.
Very, very important project that you all are doing. It's a wonderful program. I've seen it myself. Thank you so very much for being here today.
Thank you,
Thank
Angie.
you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, if you want more information about the Drowning Prevention Initiative, visit www.thinkdon'tsink.org to download videos and print materials to customize this program to your own community. And if you're interested in being part of the coalition and getting more involved in this initiative, please email Leanne at leanne.mortensen@northmemorial.com for more information.
The Plymouth Police Department is now accepting applications for the 2013 Public Safety Citizens Academy. This free 12-week, 36-hour course is geared toward expanding public knowledge of the police department, creating partners within the community, and highlighting volunteer opportunities. As coordinator of the program, I believe that the Academy definitely debunks a lot of myths about policing. Our police chief, Mike Goldstein, strongly supports the program and hopes that participants can take the information they learn and share it with friends and family, because everyone benefits from such exposure. For people who are naturally more aware or who are interested in what's going on in their community, he states, this is the class for them. Each week of the course features a different aspect of the police department through lectures and demonstrations, with 1 week dedicated to fire department operations. Last year included the history and evolution of policing, patrol operations, fire department services, investigations, emergency communications, police tactics, a canine demonstration, narcotics, SWAT, the DWI process, public safety education, crime prevention, and decision shooting scenarios. The 2013 Citizens Academy will meet each Thursday from 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. starting September 13th. For more information or to apply, please contact me at 763-509-5135 or visit the Plymouth website, www.plymouthmn.gov. Any person who is at least 18 years old and either lives, works, or owns a business in Plymouth may apply to the Academy. Application deadline is August 25th.
Hello, I'm Officer Dave Groth with the Plymouth Police Department Traffic Unit. Traffic crashes occur on Minnesota highways at a rate of nearly 300 each day. So I wanted to let you know what you should do if you are involved in a crash or come upon a crash scene. If you come upon a crash scene, slow down, but do not stop unless you are first on the scene or are signaled to do so. Try to move over, leaving an empty lane of traffic as a safety buffer. If you are first on the scene, stop and assist if you can do so safely. Park your car well off the roadway and put on your hazard lights. Call 911 and give as much information as you can. Tell your location, number of vehicles involved, number of people involved, and if there's any injuries. Provide aid to injured persons, but do not move injured people unless they are in danger from fire or other traffic. Try to stay out of the lanes of moving traffic when providing help. Stay on the shoulder as much as possible. If you are in a crash yourself, you must stop anytime you are involved in a crash, even if you hit a stationary object like a sign or a mailbox. Pull off to the side of the road as far out of traffic as you can. Turn on your hazard lights to warn other drivers. Once stopped, get out of the car only if necessary. Do not walk in lanes of traffic. Instead, walk on the shoulder or on the passenger side of the car. Try not to stand in between cars if another car is involved. If someone is injured or killed, you must call 911 right away, then provide reasonable aid to anyone who is injured. You must give your name, address, date of birth, and license plate number to the other driver. If asked, you must also provide your insurance information to the other driver as well. Insurance information must also be provided to law enforcement. If a crash results in only property damage, it is not necessary to call police, but you must exchange information with the other driver. If you hit a stationary object, you must attempt to contact the owner to provide your information, or if the owner cannot be found, then you must leave your information in a visible location. If the crash results in personal injury, death, or property damage totaling $1,000 or more, you must file a report with the Minnesota Department of Public Safety within 10 days. Reports are available at www.dps.state.mn.us/DVS or through the local law enforcement agency. We hope you are never involved in a crash, but now you know what to do if you ever encounter a crash or are involved in a crash yourself. Please drive safely.
On each episode of Along for the Ride, I talk about some crime trends and crime incidents that have been reported to the Plymouth Police Department, and then some tips on what can be done to help prevent them. Now that we're at the height of summer and park usage is in full swing, I want to remind park users to be especially watchful for illegal behavior. Recently, a portable toilet in Imperial Hills Park was set on fire and was completely destroyed. A second act of vandalism in a city park occurred in Parker's Lake Park, just across from Parker's Lake, where graffiti was sprayed on the baseball dugouts. The Plymouth Police Department asks that you be their eyes and ears and keep an eye out for activity in the park, especially at night when most of these crimes are occurring. Call 911 to report suspicious behavior, such as individuals in parks after closing. Neighborhood parks and beaches all close at 10 p.m. Community playfields all close at 10:30 p.m. If you have any information which may help the police department in the apprehension of individuals who are damaging park property, please call the Plymouth Police Department at 763-509-5160. We also always tell people to close and lock their garages, even if they are gone for a few minutes. The importance of that was illustrated recently to a resident that lives near 25th and Nathan. He left his garage door open on his detached garage, and while he ran a quick errand, he reported that he was gone for less than 15 minutes, returned home, and found that he had 2 bikes stolen. We've talked about theft from construction sites before on this show, and I have 2 more cases to let you know about. In one case, welding equipment valued at $7,000 was stolen off the roof of a church. In a second case, theft of copper pipe was stolen from an area where a new irrigation system was being installed in an area of the city where new homes are being built. If you live near a site where there are new homes under construction or where buildings are being repaired, you know that oftentimes construction equipment and materials are left at the site. Be alert to the suspicious behavior, especially in the evening. If you see an individual appearing to be casing building sites, driving slowly through the area during dark hours, or loading up construction materials, please call 911. The police will respond to investigate the situation, but we can't do this without your help. From all of us at Along for the Ride, practice good security habits and stay safe. Let's get to our viewer questions. Jesse asked us, I wanted to get my windows tinted. I can buy dark tint at the shop, but I heard that it is illegal, and I'm confused.
It can be a confusing issue, Jesse. In general, Minnesota law 169.71 prohibits driving any motor vehicle with a windshield that is cracked or discolored to the extent that limits or obstructs proper vision. Specifically, the law prohibits window tint that has a light transmittance of less than 50% plus or minus 3%. Now, when looking at window tint, it is important to remember that some vehicle windows do come from the factory with a slight tint in them. So if you apply a 50% tint, that puts you over the level that is legally allowed. So be careful when you're choosing your window tint. Of course, there are some exceptions to the tint rule, such as having a doctor's prescription, and also rear windows in vans, pickup trucks, limousines, and funeral vehicles. In addition, this law restricts not only the window tint itself, but it also prohibits reflective windows, having decals on your windows, driving with a frost or steam-covered windshield, and driving with objects suspended from the rearview mirror.
Do you have a question for us? If so, call us at 763-509-5139. If you give us your address, we will send you an Along for the Ride coffee mug.
Each calendar year, the Plymouth Police Department conducts 2 or more alcohol and tobacco compliance checks to all businesses in Plymouth that sell these products. My co-host, Jim Long, coordinates this activity, and we thought viewers would be interested in how this activity is conducted and what the results of those compliance checks are. So, Jim, thanks for being my interviewee today.
On this side of the table, yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Can you start out by telling us what's a general overview? What does the compliance checks program do?
Sure. Well, in the city of Plymouth, there are 67 businesses that have a liquor license, 39 businesses that have a license to sell tobacco products. So there's 106 businesses every year that we check twice to make sure that they're not selling to someone of underage. So in other words, we're going in 212 times at a minimum with an underage buyer, a 17-year-old for a place that sells tobacco products, a 20-year-old in an establishment that sells alcohol, with an undercover officer, just checking to make sure that they're complying with state and city ordinances by not selling to that person.
So you use kids to do this.
Yeah.
How do you find these kids and how are they trained?
You know, it's funny, I will be asking my friends, now how old is your daughter again? And they're saying, would she be interested in doing this? A lot of them are people I know, they're kids. I worked with the high schools to get some kids and some people who are interested in law enforcement. And before they go out, I do a short training with them just so they understand the process. It's real important that they understand that they're not there to trick the clerk or the waiter or waitress. They are telling the truth. If they're asked, are you old enough? They say they are not. So that's a real important part of the training. But when they go out, they have a clear understanding of what they can expect. And I think a lot of them find it a lot of fun.
And I think that's important. You're not trying to trick businesses. You're just basically making sure that they're complying with the law.
Right, and we want them to pass. So we send in underage kids that look their true age.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit about the compliance checks themselves. What is the failure rate for businesses?
Sure. Well, I'll start off first with alcohol, which isn't quite as good as tobacco. In 2011, we had a 14% failure rate. We had a little bit of problems with some of the restaurants in Plymouth. They improved. Last year, we had a 9% failure rate of places that sell alcohol products. Then with tobacco, there are 39 businesses again, that sell tobacco products. In 2011, only 2 failed.
Wow.
Last year, only 1 failed. So far this year, we've gone through round 1 of our checks, and there have been 2 fails. So we're a little more successful with tobacco checks, it seems, than alcohol.
So what are some of the penalties for the businesses if they do fail one of these checks?
If a business fails, we go to a penalty grid that's progressive in nature. I'll talk about what happens if you're a business that fails a tobacco check. If there's a first violation, they have a $500 fine and then a 5-day suspension of selling tobacco products. That may not sound like a big deal, but if you're a mom and pop operation and you depend on a lot of your proceeds from tobacco products, 5-day suspension can be a big deal.
Right.
There's a second violation, there's a $750 fine, and again, a 5-day suspension. If there's a third violation, a $1,000 fine, and then a 10-day suspension of selling those products. And if there's a fourth violation, they go before the city council. They may have their entire license revoked. Alcohol is pretty similar to that, slightly stricter, but again, it follows a progressive grid that we impose upon the business.
Obviously, it's an individual wait person or clerk that's actually breaking the law, not the whole business.
Right,
So
right.
are there specific penalties just for that person?
Right. If they sell tobacco products, they're guilty of a misdemeanor. If they're selling alcohol products, they're guilty of a gross misdemeanor. So there's a fine imposed. But also, they'll have a criminal history for the rest of their life, which really could impact employment opportunities that they may be pursuing down the road. And also, and we have no say about this, but in most cases, we're seeing that this clerk or this waiter or waitress is fired from their jobs.
Okay, so it's really important that the businesses are training their employees
Yep.
to do stuff.
Yep.
So when someone does fail and they don't get the correct ID or they sell to an underage person, what are some of the excuses that you've heard?
Yeah, I was compiled the top 4, and the first one is I thought the person looked old enough. Well, it's not always obvious. So if you consistently are checking IDs, you're not going to be selling to an underage person.
Right.
The second one is kind of my pet peeve, and that is I screwed up on the math. There's no math to do when you're checking IDs. On someone's ID, if they're under 18, it will give the age at which they will turn 18 off to the side. It will say age 18 date, and there's the date. If they're under 21, above their picture, in yellow letters, it says under 21. So when someone says, I screwed up on the year they were born in the math, no, you don't have to do any math.
Right.
So I hear that. I just forgot, they'll say. If you're waiting tables, that's a big part of your job, and you can't forget that.
Right.
And then finally, I hear a lot is, I was really rushed, it was really busy, I didn't have time. And again, it takes seconds to check an ID. So those are the top 4.
Yeah, definitely. So is there anything else that you really want to get across to the public about, or businesses themselves, about these alcohol and tobacco compliance checks?
Well, first of all, the Plymouth Police Department, like I said earlier, we want you to pass your checks, your compliance checks. We don't want to trick you. Let people know that if you accidentally do serve alcohol or tobacco to someone underage, you will have a criminal history for the rest of your life. But finally, and this is important too, the vast majority of businesses pass. And I would just like to thank those businesses for doing a fantastic job of helping the police department keeping tobacco and alcohol products out of the hands of kids.
Which is a great, great idea and a great program. So
Yeah,
thank you for
thanks.
heading that up, and thanks for chatting with me today.
Oh, you bet. Thank you.
In each episode of Along for the Ride, we like to highlight some outstanding work by members of the Plymouth Police Department. The Plymouth Police Department Explorers recently attended the 38th Annual Minnesota Law Enforcement Conference in Rochester. There they performed very well against tough competition at one of the largest competitions in the nation. Explorers Reed Carswell, Ryan Deering, Connor Eden, Chase Farley, Brianna Gerard, Graham Swenson, and Max Van Creveland brought home a total of 6 awards, 4 in various shooting events, including an event where Connor Eden finished first place in the rapid fire competition. In addition, they took home first place in the bomb scene team competition and second place in the search and arrest competition. Great job to our explorers. We also wanted to recognize all the Explorer advisors who spend extra time training and preparing the group throughout the year. These officers are Officers John Goldeman, Dave Carlson, Amy Goodwin, Steve Balloon, Amy Thurkelson, Dave Groth, and Scott Kroger. Congratulations to the Explorers and their advisors on another outstanding achievement.